Summer 1991. The European Council is absorbed in the approval of the Regulation number 2092/91 that will recognise, for the first time in history, organic agriculture at a European level. The organic opportunity achieves a result that will change our way of seeing agriculture and its impacts on Earth forever. But what do we refer to when we talk about organic? This is the Organic Recipe, the podcast created by Made in Nature that explores the world of organic agriculture, discovering the stories, the research, and the people involved in this huge transformation of our habits. The European Protocol must not be intended just as a first step towards a common procedure used by everyone, but as a clear recognition of the values and the potential of organic agriculture and its contribution to the balance between agricultural produce, the protection of the environment, and the conservation of the countryside.
For the first time, the European Union recognized that organic farming was not only a way of farming, a production method, but was a method which was able to give public goods like environmental defense, animal welfare, rural development, and biodiversity, and a lot of positive things. I am Roberto Pinton. I am involved in the organic movement since the end of the 70s. Yes, I am old. And in the early 80s, I was a founding member of one of the first organic agricultural cooperatives in Italy, which is still alive.
To understand how important and revolutionary the approval of organic law has been, and what the situation and interpretation regarding the potential of organic agriculture was, Roberto Pinton remembers the UN conference that took place in Vienna dedicated to trade markets and agriculture.
In 1991, I was the Italian representative at the United Nations Conference on Organic Farming. It was the first one, and we were not ready because in 1991 we had the first regulation for the last 6 months, and it was not really applied all over Europe. And it was impressive in the big room of the United Nations. My colleague from Germany started his speech saying, our target is 20%. And he didn't tell 20% of what, of number of farms, of surfaces, of market, but it was not relevant. Our target is 20%. We are here and we are here to stay, was the message.
The approval of organic agriculture in the EU followed the effort and requests promoted by individual countries, such as the agricultural laws implemented by France in 1980, followed by Italian and Danish laws in 1986 and 1987. It was an important step because it both defined what organic agriculture was, making it clearer to consumers, and at the same time it protected the producers, starting a domino effect involving all the other countries in the world. After the EU regulation, every product to enter the European market needed to satisfy European standards, even if they are cultivated or processed outside the Union. Roberto Pinton helps us to understand how crucial these regulatory steps have been.
Since the first regulation, 2091, in 1992, the European Commission started to regulate and to give a common standard to organic farming, not in Europe, but given that Europe is an importer, European standards were applied even outside, so in South America or in Africa, bananas or sugar or cocoa. they were started to grow according to European regulation. So even it was a European standard, but de facto it became the world standard, even because USA were not ready with their own standard. They arrived later with their organic regulation, which was highly inspired by the European one.
But how does the regulation work? And how are the controls enforced?
The regulation is mostly technical and clarify what farmers and growers and the processor and the trader have to do, what they can use in the field or in their factory, and in which way the control system has to work. Because one of the most relevant aspects in order to keep the trust of consumer is we have an official control system which is the same all over the European Union, but really even in UK and even in many other countries which are linked to Europe because they are recognized as equivalent after they signed an agreement in order to be sure of the respect of the European regulation. So every farm, every organic farm, every organic company from the small bakery to the big oil mill is inspected at least once per year by independent control bodies which are authorized by the public authority.
Between 2007 and 2010, the European Union decided to move another step forward, introducing a common label with the intention of unifying every country's production under a unique logo and at the same time strengthening the relationship between institutions, consumers and producers in terms of transparency and security. The green leaf, in fact, is not only an image, but a declaration that organic produce has nothing to hide.
So when the farm is fully compliant, it can sell the product using the European logo, which is a flag with a leaf, which is with the 12 stars of the European Union, and the logo is the same in all over Europe. Under the logo you can find the origin of the agricultural origin of the product, and organic was the first product which in an absolutely transparent way state the origin of product. It's not anonymous. You can understand if the product is grown in Italy or in France or in Germany or in the European Union if it is a mix of different ingredients, or outside the European Union, or if the product put together part of European ingredients and part of non-European ingredients. So to make it easy, if you have a jam or a marmalade, you usually have to use sugar, and if you use cane sugar, it's come from South America. We have not cane sugar here in the old continent, and so there is it's absolutely clear the origin of the product, and you can find in the label the code of the control body. And so if you want, you can, as a consumer, you can contact the control body, you can go and visit its website and give a look to the documents about the company or the farm, and understand how many and what sort of products are done by this company, and you have a general vision of the company and or all the supply chain.
Since 1991, and with the revisions applied over the years, the support of the European Union to organic agriculture has been consistently stronger. In 2020, these efforts have brought the European Commission to insert, inside the Green Deal, the From Farm to Fork strategy, a 10-year plan with the aim of changing the entire European food sector. A strong and crucial decision that means a total re-evaluation of habits, productions, consumptions, and especially the way we eat and think about ourselves in the world.
Cannot say, okay, but so we have to be patient because agriculture is made in this way. No, it's not made in this way. This way is wrong, and we need to correct agriculture if we want a healthy environment, healthy farmers, and healthy consumers. And so we are really happy about the targets of Farm to Fork strategy, which in the long vision is being in 2050 carbon neutral as Europe. And it's ambitious, but it's needed. We cannot act in different way because you are seeing what are the problems of the climate now. And the Commission decided to cut off 50% of pesticides before 2030, to cut 50% of waste of fertilizer before 2030, and to cut off 50% antibiotics, antimicrobial, even in fish farming, because even in aquaculture antibiotics are highly used, and they are, as they are a health risk for all Europeans, they have to be cut. And the fourth idea is having at least 25% of organic of the European surface run with organic methods. So it's clear that according to science and according to strategic vision, organic farming is a future. But we are not satisfied of being future because we want it to be the present.
You've been listening to The Organic Recipe, the podcast brought to you by Made in Nature and produced by RP Circuiti, narrated by Eleanor Robinson and written by Francesco Pataccini. The sound director was Pasquale Cicciriello, and the supervision was by Lorenzo Pasquinelli with the help of Silvia Lesi. Made in Nature is a project funded by the European Union and CSO Italy. The project's aim is to promote the values of organic agriculture in Italy, France, Germany, and Denmark. Discover more about the project at madeinnature.org or visit our social networks. For narrative reasons, some interviews in the podcast have been dubbed from the mother tongue of the interviewee to English, with their consent.